Tonight, I want to focus in on this. This happened about a month ago, or a little over a month, month and a half ago, is Trump came out and said that he's going to release all the alien files, UAPs, whatever you want to call them, UFO files, whatever. And so it made the news and stuff like that. But I want to get us prepared for when these documents are released, and they're supposed to be released anytime soon. That you have the proper biblical understanding of what our government has been doing and understanding why at this time are they releasing these files, why, that they said they were going to release the Jeffrey Epstein files and we hardly saw anything out of that, But the thing about it is there's been stuff going on, obviously, and I want to do the background on this so that we understand kind of what the government's trying to do from a biblical standpoint. Again, this is all over the news. And again, this was in like February 2026. And then he got interviewed on the plane, talking a little bit about Obama shouldn't have leaked, and then he talks a little bit about it. So here it is real quick.
Air Force One is clearly an identified flying object, but it was while on board that the president seemed a little miffed.
Well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that.
That was directed at former President Obama, who had said this.
Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them.
Was he actually confirming the existence of aliens?
My gosh.
So aliens are real?
Well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. Well, he made a big mistake.
Obama would take to Instagram to clarify, writing, "The distances between solar systems are so great that the chances we've been visited by aliens is low. And I saw no evidence during my presidency that extraterrestrials have made contact with us. Really." And last night from President Trump, a new promise. "I will be directing the Secretary of War and other relevant departments and agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life."
So they were finally waiting for a president to do it, and so Trump's going to do it. This came out just a few weeks ago. This is March 2026. The U.S. put out U.S. Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency registered alien.gov and aliens.gov web domains, adding both to the official government website registry. So apparently they're going to use these websites for people to look at. Anyway, what's been going on for a while? Okay, so let's get some background information to understand what's going to be behind a lot of this so we can interpret things if they are released. The U.S. government-sponsored ATIP, which is an Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program from 2007 to 2012 to investigate unidentified aerial phenomenon. Currently, the Pentagon is sponsoring UAPTF, Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force, officially acknowledged in 2020. Then it disbanded in 2022 and was succeeded by an all-domain anomaly resolution office, AARO, which continues to receive Pentagon backing, reports directly to top defense officials. So that's, they keep changing the name of the program, but the program still exists, okay? And then just recently, the Pentagon AARO, that's the new agency's name, quietly held an invite-only workshop to help shape the future of UAP research. So we had all these people coming together and talking about how they're going to deal with releasing information or taking in information from people who see UAPs, who see UFOs or whatever they want to call them. And so they're getting the government involved, okay? So the thing about it is, anytime the government gets involved, you have to have a red flag up, okay? Whether it's vaccines, whether it's, anything the government touches, you don't trust, okay? So again, follow me on this narrative, because whatever the government's going to say about them is the narrative they want you to believe. Okay? You follow me on that? Okay. So Hexes doubles down on Trump's UAP disclosure, promises AARO's caseload exceeds 2,000. We're talking about 2,000 incidences of UAPs that This has been going on. They have a lot. They want to disclose all of this, like the Epstein files, okay? That type of thing. UFO whistleblower tells Congress U.S. government is hiding evidence of non-human intelligence. Here's some of this is a couple years ago, and I'll bring you up to speed to what happened in September. But these are congressional witnesses, whistleblowers, whatever you want to call them, talking to Congress about what they know.
So what you're telling me is that UFOs, unidentified flying objects, are real.
Bill, I think we're beyond that already. The government has already stated for the record that they're real. I'm not telling you that. The United States government is telling you that.
Luis Elizondo spent 20 years running military intelligence operations worldwide in Afghanistan, the Middle East, and Guantanamo. He hadn't given UFOs a second thought until 2008. That's when he was asked to join something at the Pentagon called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP.
The mission of ATIP was quite simple. It was to collect and analyze information involving anomalous aerial vehicles. What I guess in the vernacular you call them UFOs. We call them UAPs.
You know how this sounds. It sounds nutty, wacky.
Look, Bill, I'm not telling you that it doesn't sound wacky. What I'm telling you, it's real. The question is, what is it? What are its intentions? What are its capabilities?
Buried away in the Pentagon, ATIP was part of a $22 million program sponsored by then Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid to investigate UFOs. When Elizondo took over in 2010, he focused on the national security implications of unidentified aerial phenomena documented by U.S. service members.
Imagine a technology that can do 600 to 700 G-forces, that can fly at 13,000 miles an hour, that it can evade radar, and that can fly through air and water and possibly space. And, oh, by the way, has no obvious signs of propulsion, no wings, no control surfaces, and yet still can defy the natural effects of Earth's gravity. That's precisely what we're seeing.
Elizondo tells us ATIP was a loose-knit mix of scientists, electro-optical engineers, avionics, and intelligence experts, often working part-time. They combed through data and records and analyzed videos like this. A Navy aircrew struggles to lock on to a fast-moving object off the U.S. Atlantic coast in 2015. Recently released images may not convince UFO skeptics, but the Pentagon admits it doesn't know what in the world this is. Or this. Or this. So what do you say to the skeptics? It's refracted light, weather balloons, a rocket being launched, Venus.
In some cases, there are simple explanations for what people are witnessing, but there are some that are not. We're not just simply jumping to a conclusion that's saying, oh, that's a UAP out there. We're going through our due diligence. Is it some sort of new type of cruise missile technology that China has developed? Is it some sort of high-altitude balloon that's conducting reconnaissance? Ultimately, when you have exhausted all those what-ifs and you're still left with the fact that this is in our airspace and it's real, that's when it becomes compelling and that's when it becomes problematic.
Former Navy pilot Lieutenant Ryan Graves calls whatever is out there a security risk. He told us his F-18 squadron began seeing UAPs hovering over restricted airspace southeast of Virginia Beach in 2014 when they updated their jet's radar, making it possible to zero in with infrared targeting cameras. So you're seeing it both with the radar and with the infrared, and that tells you that there is something out there.
Pretty hard to spoof that.
These photographs were taken in 2019 in the same area. The Pentagon confirms these are images of objects it can't identify. Lieutenant Graves told us pilots training off the Atlantic coast see things like that all the time.
Every day. Every day for at least a couple of years.
Wait a minute, every day for a couple of years?
Mm-hmm. I don't see an exhaust plume.
Including this one, off the coast of Jacksonville, Florida in 2015, captured on a targeting camera by members of Graves' squadron.
Well, if there's look at that thing. It's rotating. my gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude.
You can sort of hear the surprise in their voices.
You certainly can. They seem to have broke character a bit, and we're just kind of amazed at what they were seeing.
What do you think when you see something like this?
This is a difficult one to explain. You have rotation, you have high altitudes, you have propulsion, right? I don't know. I don't know what it is, frankly.
He told us pilots speculate they are one of three things: secret U.S. technology, an adversary spy vehicle, or something otherworldly.
I would say, the highest probability is it's a threat observation program.
Could it be Russian or Chinese technology?
I don't see why not.
Are you alarmed?
I am worried, frankly. If these were tactical jets from another country that were hanging out up there, it would be a massive issue. But because it looks slightly different, we're not willing to actually look at the problem in the face. We're happy to just ignore the fact that these are out there watching us every day.
So here's, I think this happened off the coast of San Diego. They don't know what this was. One of the carriers, and they were doing maneuvers at night, got infiltrated by these UAPs.
July 2019. San Clemente Island, California, 68 nautical miles west of San Diego. 9 U.S. warships are performing nighttime training exercises in restricted waters.
Suddenly and unexpectedly, the exercise is interrupted by an unknown presence.
The ships are swarmed by what the Navy refers to as UAVs, or unidentified aerial vehicles. The UAVs fly for prolonged periods of time in low visibility conditions. And as far as ancient astronaut theorists are concerned, the video captured from the USS Russell may be the most extraordinary of all. Not because there were so many objects seen in the sky, but because of the UAP's very unique shape.
So it has this triangle shape sometimes, it has different shapes. But anyway, it's being caught. Some of them are Tic Tacs, this is AI, but some of the pilots said that these things look like Tic Tacs, but they're doing maneuvers of 13,000 miles per hour, sometimes going Mach 1, Mach 2, and stops on a dime, whatnot. 60 Minutes continue to talk about the pilots that actually followed the Tic Tac around, and they kind of explained, what happened with that. So here's a little bit of that.
It was November 2004, and the USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group was training about 100 miles southwest of San Diego. For a week, the advanced new radar on a nearby ship, the USS Princeton, had detected what operators called multiple anomalous aerial vehicles over the horizon, descending 80,000 feet in less than a second. On November 14th, Fravor and Dietrich, each with a weapons system officer in the back seat, were diverted to investigate. They found an area of roiling whitewater the size of a 737 in an otherwise calm blue sea.
So as we're looking at this, her backseater says, "Hey, Skipper, do you?" And about that got out, I said, "Dude, do you see that thing down there?" And we saw this little white tic-tac looking object, and it's just kind of moving above the whitewater area.
As Dietrich circled above, Fravor went in for a closer look. So you're sort of spiraling down?
Yep. The tic-tac still pointing north-south. It goes and just turns abruptly and starts mirroring me. So as I'm coming down, it starts coming up.
So it's mimicking your moves.
Yeah, it was aware we were there.
He said it was about the size of his F-18, with no markings, no wings, no exhaust plumes.
Right up to, I'll see how close I can get. So I go like this, and it's climbing still. And when it gets right in front of me, it just disappears.
Disappears?
Disappears. Like gone.
It had sped off. What are you thinking?
So your mind tries to make sense of it. I'm going to categorize this as maybe a helicopter or maybe a drone. And when it disappeared, I mean, it was just...
Did your backseaters see this too?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There was 4 of us in the airplanes literally watching this thing for roughly about 5 minutes.
Seconds later, the Princeton reacquired the target, 60 miles away. Another crew managed to briefly lock onto it with a targeting camera before it zipped off again.
You know, I think that over beers, we've sort of said, hey, man, if I saw this solo, I don't know that I would have come back and said anything because it sounds so crazy when I say it.
You understand that reaction?
I do. I've had some people tell me, you know, when you say that, you can sound crazy. And I'll be honest, I'm not a UFO guy.
But from what I hear you guys saying, there's something.
Yes.
Oh, there's definitely something that, I don't know who's building it, who's got the technology, who's got the brains, but there's something out there that was better than our airplane.
That's scary. There's something out there better than our airplane. So this was back this summer. Jordan Peterson interviewed Dr. Gary Nolan, and Gary Nolan is another expert on UAPs and whatnot. I want you to listen to what Gary Nolan has to say about this in this interview.
Tell me about the patterns of anomalous activity that characterize, that define something as an unidentified aerial phenomena, and then tell me what you've concluded as a consequence of your investigations and where you, let's do that.
So there are, let's say, 5 characteristics of something that you would think of as an anomaly. One is instantaneous acceleration and deceleration. Right? There's very few things that we know of that can go from 0 to 5,000 miles an hour and then stop on a dime without squishing everybody on the inside, you know, sending them through the windshield. So when you see these things go from, in the case of the, I think it was the Nimitz or the Eisenhower, goes from sea level to space in less than a second, and they have the radar trackings of those things. And now imagine the size of the object. Let's say it weighs a ton. To instantaneously accelerate and decelerate at that level takes more than would take the energy of more than the nuclear output of the United States for a year. Okay, so where did you get that energy, first of all? So instantaneous acceleration and deceleration. So seeing things that do zigzags across the sky means that somebody or something has control if it's going fast enough, and it's not doing an arc. It means something has control of momentum and inertia. They can negate momentum and inertia. So that's an observation seen hundreds, if not thousands of times by pilots all over the world. So what does that mean about our understanding of physics, first of all? So that's one thing. The other is no apparent flight surfaces and no apparent exhaust. So no energy output. So you're moving and doing these things, and yet if you look at them with FLIR, which is a kind of infrared, you don't see any hot spots. If you were to look at a jet, all you would see is the plume from the jet. So no flight surfaces, meaning, basically Bernoulli's principle is not at play here, right? Which is basically how the wings work and lift. So Bernoulli's principle is not at play. So you're moving without a flight surface and without an apparent mode of inertia. You're not putting something out so that you can move forward. And then the other one is what you would think of as what's called transmedium travel, meaning something that can go from the water to the air and then back again, or to the air and to space. We have nothing that can do something like that. Recently, there have now been drones made and talked about openly, and actually these are U.S. Drones just shown on I saw on a military video recently where drones can be underwater, travel, and then come out of the water and go do the attack. But that's only been developed in the last, few years, not something from 50, 60 years ago.
Hello? There we go. So if you're listening to him, he's a physics guy, I guess, and look, we don't have any that kind of capability. So I want you to put yourself in the shoes of just a secular person that doesn't know the Bible. Okay? I want you to think through you're getting presented this kind of information. Okay? We don't have anything that has this kind of physical, that go to space, go to water, and we're talking like within a second, 80,000 feet. We don't have anything like that. What does the average secular person do if this gets released to them? Okay, think through that. So then, that's what we know. And then this last September, they had another congressional meeting. And they brought more pilots in there and more people that are involved in this. And again, this is September 9th. Had a huge task force, declassification of federal secrets. And they wanted to restore public trust through the UAP transparency and whistleblower protection. So here's some of the clips, the highlights that came out of this. And again, I want you to hear it as if you're a secular person, okay?
This was taken October 30th of 2024. This video is of an MQ-9 drone tracking an orb, or this object, off the coast of Yemen. You'll see that another MQ-9 launched a Hellfire missile. You cannot see that drone.
Are you aware of anything in the government, United States government arsenal that can split a Hellfire missile like this?
No.
And do whatever blob thing it did and then keep going? Nothing?
Nothing.
All right, how about you, Chief Wiggins?
Nothing to my knowledge, ma'am.
Okay, and how about you, Mr. Borland?
I prefer to answer that in a skiff.
I have heard about events like this. I have heard about this event. Jeremy Corbell and I talked about it in one of our episodes a while back. We did not have the video, though. There are servers where there's a whole bank of these kind of videos that Congress has not been allowed to see, that the public hasn't been allowed to see. Occasionally, some of that stuff gets out in the wild, and it comes our way. It should be going to you. The public should be seeing this stuff. And why you're not allowed to, I don't know. But that's a Hellfire missile smacking into that UFO and just bounced right off. And it kept going.
It kept going, and it looks like the debris was taken with it.
Yeah, what the hell is that? The public has been told over and over since the late 40s, there's nothing to worry about here. These mysterious craft seen by millions of people in the skies, in the oceans, over the land, are not real. They're not a threat. The witnesses are wrong. They're crackpots. Don't believe it. That changed for me. What got me hooked is the paper trail. Documents that were squeezed out of the U.S. government after the FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, became the law of the land. And those documents paint a much different picture than what the public, the press, and Congress have been told over many years. The documents from military and intelligence personnel behind closed doors admit that, quote, these things are real. They're not fictitious. They can fly in formation, they're evasive, and they outperform any aircraft known to exist, including ours. The public, of course, as I said, has been told something much different. Back in 1989, I reported about a guy named Bob Lazar, who claimed that he worked at a facility dubbed S4 out in the Nevada desert, very near to Area 51. He said he was part of a reverse engineering program. He said there are alien craft that will be taken apart to figure out how they operated out there. It's been widely reported and suspected that Lockheed Martin is one of the contractors, the defense contractors, that has held this stuff, stored it away in secrecy, and tried to figure out how it works. We had managed to get inside of it. It had no wings, no rotor, no tail. It had no fuel tanks. They didn't know how it flew or how it was operated. It clearly looked like it was aerodynamic. It's not ours. It wasn't ours. We didn't make it. We didn't know who made it and how it was built and how it operated. A lot of this stuff has been moved out of government. Sure. As you know, Rep. Burchett, it's been given to private contractors who stashed it away. They've had it for so long that there's nobody left inside government, or very few, who know where it is.
And they do that to keep us from FOIA, correct?
Yeah, it's to keep it from FOIA. And I think that the contractors who've had this stuff for a very long time set their own standards about who is allowed to know what. And it's a very small group that ever cracks that. There was an incident in October of 1982 over at ICBM base where UFOs popped up, was observed over this base where the missiles are pointed at us, United States. These UFOs perform incredible maneuvers. They split apart. They fuse back together. They'd appear and disappear. And right at the end of this 4-hour period, the launch control codes for the ICBMs lit up. Something entered the correct codes. The missiles were fired up and ready to launch, and they could not shut it down. The Russian officers were panicking. The UFOs they disappeared. The launch control system goes back to normal. Colonel Sokolov and his team came in, took the thing apart, could not figure out what it was. It wasn't a power surge or EMPs or some of the baloney excuses that our country has given for similar events involving our nuclear missiles. They thought it was a message from wherever the UFOs were from. And that's a chilling thing. I mean, we were a couple of seconds away from World War III starting, and the UFOs were responsible for it.
Okay, so keep following that. So they changed the launch codes or whatever, get them ready to fire. And it seems that you'll hear a constant theme of that the UFOs or UAPs, they like to spend a lot of time over our nuclear sites. They're spotted a lot of times wherever we have nuclear facilities. And like he's trying to say, it's a threat. They almost started World War III. Okay, you following all this, okay? Again, imagine you're a secular person and you're hearing that. These things are a threat to national security. They're a threat to our nuclear capabilities. They almost started World War III. It seems that we have tried to reverse engineer it. Again, I'm following the narrative, okay? We have crash sites, we've retrieved things, and now we're reverse engineering things, and that we're trying to figure out the capabilities of some of these crafts that we have. Again, follow the narrative. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying follow the narrative, okay? So here's more of the congressional hearing in front of Congress at that time and back in September, I believe it was.
I mean, so what do you think about your experience as a collective group? That'll be my last question, Madam Chairwoman.
I mean, we've been talking about this for 20 years. We don't know what we saw. What we saw changed our lives and the way we think about everything. It was incredibly profound. The object I saw, I don't even know if it was an object. It was a light. It was an orb. It didn't look like a craft, but it did look solid. And that's what we talk about. We noticed the object, and this was a pattern across all the encounters. Someone would see a light. They would pay attention to the light. And then the object responds. It performs for you. And then they come down and they investigate you. So it's almost like they're curious. So that's the thing we primarily talk about. Why did it come? After we noticed it. Maybe it noticed us after we noticed it.
That's weird. So they're claiming that there's been multiple crash retrievals of non-human vehicles and that there's been a whole department doing this.
Mr. Chairman, ranking members and congressmen, thank you. I'm happy to be here. This is an important issue, and I'm grateful for your time. I was informed in the course of my official duties of a multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program.
If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah. My name is David Charles Grush. I was an intelligence officer for 14 years.
David Grush. David Grush. David Grush.
Former Pentagon official David Grush
claims he's viewed evidence of a UFO crash retrieval program.
The UAP task force was refused access to a broad crash retrieval program.
So you're vouching for this guy?
What incentive would so many people with that kind of qualification have to come forward
and make something up.
Secrets he says no one has ever shared publicly before.
These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will, non-human, exotic origin.
Non-human origin.
So you would think things like actually having alien bodies would be much more significant evidence of there being aliens.
No evidence has been presented at all.
I don't want to be proven wrong about aliens.
What is there to these claims that have been made?
If you're following stuff about aliens and about UFOs and what U.S. lawmakers are saying about all of this, things are very confusing right now.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
Alien spacecrafts.
Certainly interesting.
I'm here to protect national security, and I'm just trying to put all the general topics out there for public conversation to hold our government accountable, really.
For the record, if you were me, where would you look? Titles, programs, departments, regions. If you could just name anything.
I'd be happy to give you that in a closed environment. I can tell you specifically.
They miss the significance time and time again of the finding made by the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community when he referred David Grush's matter to Congress for investigation, that Mr. Grush's allegations were credible and urgent.
What we're witnessing right now is, quite frankly, the greatest legislative failure in American history.
So what happened to that vehicle?
So we knew where it was being stored at a particular location after the crash, and then the military came in and we grabbed it towards the end of the war, 1944, 1945. There were concerns, like I stated during the hearing, of people that have espoused that to me. And of course, I brought some of those officers to the Inspector General, the Intelligence Community Inspector General, because I'm like, this is serious. Whether you believe my allegations or not, this is a government transparency issue at large.
How many crash retrieval incidents have there been?
It is double digit. They've kept the secret for so many years. They knew me. They knew what I was looking into. They felt that they were kind of limited in bringing people in, the support they were getting, their treatment was harsh sometimes, and I guess they weren't really feeling the love anymore.
I'm skeptical, I guess. I think maybe it's fabricated to an extent based on our beliefs.
Yeah, it's like manifesting your own reality based on your... No, I totally get that, even some of the metaphysics, and I was like super careful with confirmation bias and all that.
So let's flush that out a little bit. The narrative is the government has been hiding that they have alien crafts that they're re-engineering, and they have had over a dozen alien crafts now that they've retrieved, and they have biologics. That means they have alien bodies. Okay, you follow it? And that's what he's saying. You follow the narrative. What's being withheld from the American people, and we as whistleblowers want to just get that out so the American people can know that that's what your U.S. government is doing. Okay? Is the whistleblowers part of the narrative? Are they the ones that are actually being allowed to say what they say to prep you for what is going to be released? So you get what I'm saying? Is this a real whistleblower and saying this is what your government, or is this the whistleblower part of the government deception? You see what I'm saying? And this is what I want everyone to start filtering through. And you're going to have to sit there, because the average person is not going to wade through this. They're going to buy the narrative. Okay? They're going to buy the narrative. In my opinion, they're allowing these guys to say what they want them to say and make this whole thing up about the government's hiding this from you. This is what's really going on. I'm a whistleblower. I've been threatened, yada, 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 because they're preparing stuff. So they're saying that we have reclaimed non-human life, okay? We didn't want to really tell everybody this because we know all of Western society is built on a Judeo-Christian ethic, and if we tell them, look, we got alien terrestrials, extraterrestrials from other planets, It's going to destroy our whole society. It's going to destroy Western civilization. And we didn't want to do that, and that's why we've been holding it from the public all these years. Following the narrative? So we didn't want to destroy our society. We didn't want to destroy people's faith by telling them that we really have aliens. Okay?
It was previously testified that there was biologics that were collected. Are you aware of any of that?
I am, sir, aware of the reporting that biologics have been recovered. Again, my focus was more nuts and bolts.
So biologics have been recovered. We have the bodies. Okay? That's part of the problem. And watch
Police
this.
are searching for a retired Air Force general who vanished in New Mexico. William McCasland went missing last month. Members of Congress are warning this could be a national security issue. The general was involved with the Pentagon's most advanced aerospace research. He oversaw a classified space weapons program. McCasland was in charge of the Air Force Research Lab at a base in Ohio. It's rumored that base holds extraterrestrial debris from the Roswell crash site. The general was tied in with the UFO community. A source told the New York Post the general was a gatekeeper for anything UFO related in the Air Force. He retired due to mental fog, but investigators say he's still highly intelligent and capable. McCasland was an avid hiker. His wife last saw him leaving with a backpack and a .38 revolver. No phone, no glasses. He disappeared 6 days right after Trump announced he was releasing the UFO files. And he's not the only one. 8 months before the general vanished, a rocket scientist who worked under him years ago also went missing. She was hiking in California with 2 other people. They saw her smiling and waving 30 feet behind them. When they turned back again, she was gone, vanished in plain sight. They searched for days and couldn't find any trace of her. This is a very, very strange situation. And 11 days before the general disappeared, another scientist was shot dead on his porch. Carl Grillmar was known for discovering signs of water on a distant planet, and he was gunned down in California. Freddie Snyder was later charged with his murder. He has a rap sheet, but was let out of jail by a Newsom-appointed judge weeks before he allegedly killed the scientist. We still don't know his motive. And we don't know if these cases are even connected. But this many top scientists getting killed or going missing in just under a year looks like a major red flag.
That's weird. That's really weird. Guys tied into the UFO, and then they end up dead or missing. We don't know where they're at. I think when you start adding things up, and I'm running out of time, there are 3 types of aliens that they reportedly will come out with. There's the Nordics, there's the reptilians, and then there's the Greys. These are the 3 most common aliens that they say that they see. Okay, if that gets released or whatever, and that becomes to the public that these are the species that we're dealing with, just want you to understand that in exorcisms, that's exactly what demons appear to be. That's the shapes they take on in exorcisms. So now I'm talking to you from a biblical standpoint. In exorcisms, we have documentation and case studies. That's the form they take on. And yet, our U.S. government saying we have the bodies, we have them, that we have their spacecrafts. But yet, here's the thing, that when you start adding things up, if these are physical spacecrafts, then by the laws of physics, and I'm not a physics guy, that craft would come apart by pulling that much G's through our own physical universe. It couldn't do it. It would crush everything. It would crush in like a tin, a can. It wouldn't. If these are real creatures inside, they would be crushed by the G-force that these things are doing. Mach 1, Mach 2, and then stopping on a dime. Everything would go. They'd be crushed. You can't do that in the physical universe unless you're something else other than physical. So you got these abductions. Let me ask you this question. Why is the reptilians, the Greys, the Nordics, all look similar to a human? Why don't they have 4 arms? Why don't they have a tail? Why don't they have 3 heads? Why don't they look like Star Wars Cantina? Why don't they? Why do they look similar to humans? Now I want you to look at that. That is the typical alien that's going to be presented to you and the public. Okay? This shape is intentional. The big head, the slender arms, the slender body, no muscles, nothing. It's just a big-headed thing. Why do the demons want to look like that? It's humanoid, but it's got no genitalia. It has no muscles. It's real slender, but yet it still looks fairly human because it's 2 arms, 2 legs, and a body and a head. Do you understand what's going on here? This is the deception from the demons and fallen angels. This is what humans would look like, so to speak, if you believe in evolution and we kept evolving to eventually we just become a massive brain. Because as technology increases, we don't need our physical bodies anymore per se. We're not out doing manual labor anymore. So in the thought of progression of evolution, as technology increases, we use our bodies less and less, and we only have a big head because that's all we're using is our brains. That is classic evolutionary thought patterns. That's why they look like that. Why don't they look like the Rancor monster from Return of the Jedi? How come they don't look like any like a beast or why do they look like us? Because they're meant to look like us of where we are supposed to evolve, because the space aliens are telling us we created you and we're just highly evolved creatures and you're going to become like us as well. This is your ultimate destiny, is to become like us. A walking brain, no muscles or anything like that. Now, here's the interesting thing. In abduction cases, and you're going to see abduction cases because that's in the files, because thousands of people have been abducted, and they all report similar things in the abductions. They're on a table and they got aliens watching them, playing with their genitalia and doing all kinds of experiments, implants, all that stuff. What I want to bring your attention to, and I'm not going to get too deep into it, you can look online for yourself. MIT in 1992 did a discussion and compared alien abductions to satanic ritual abuses. And guess what they found? Constant correlation with alien abductions and satanic ritual abuse. There's so many of them, I can't tell you. But notice triangles, circles, pentagrams. That one thing looked like a triangle, didn't it? Scary. Both were scary. Capes worn. Torture, intimidate, all kinds of electrical energy. White sheet on in both satanic ritual and alien abductions. Some being was in charge. There was a high priest in the satanic ritual. Reptilian creatures, reptilian creatures, cartoon creatures, men in black. Both report men in black coming to them afterwards. Shadows in mind, both. Both are told you are special. Both are told we will return. Both do not tell. In alien abductions, they wanted to breed. In satanic ritual abuse, they forced the women to breed. In the alien abductions, they were inside a spacecraft. In the survivor accounts of SRAs, they were in a pentagram. Both report tunnels. Both were taken from a car. One was kidnapped, taken from a bed, kidnapped in a bed, taken from a field or forest, taken from a field or forest, taken from a park, kidnapped from a park. Same thing. Bonding with the alien, bonding with the cult. Amnesia, both experience amnesia, both experience drugged, a euphoric, anesthetized feeling. Both report pain. Both report feeling trapped, nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. Paranormal experience, like out-of-body experience, astral projection, same thing. Paranoia, they are coming back. Painless wounds, headaches, visual disturbances, sexual disturbance, nightmares, depression, humiliation, obsessive thoughts, seen as caring, seen as abusive, PTSD, all of it. And it goes on and 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 on. It's so much, I can't even have time to show you the parallels that MIT, not, First Baptist Church of MIT, it's just MIT saying, look at the parallels between the experiences of satanic ritual abuse and alien abductions. What do you conclude? It's fallen angels and it's the demons. That's the easy answer, okay? But here's what you're going to have to understand. When Trump releases this, they're going to come out with a narrative. Just like that. What was the narrative for Epstein files? What was the narrative? There's nothing there. When you know there's something there. I want you to pay attention to some of the cues they picked up on as you listen to the whistleblowers. What was said? Nuclear sites interfering with nuclear readiness, monitoring sensitive military installations, non-human bodies recovered, non-verbal communication. I skipped the video, but they talked about these things are communicating to them non-verbally. It's not the United States. It's a threat observation technology. They're observing us, and we are vulnerable because we can't defend against them. If that's the narrative, if that's what I picked up from the whistleblowers, and that's what's going to be exposed, then tell me what kind of reaction I would have if I'm a secular person. We are threatened by these creatures. We better have the government do all they can to protect us from these creatures. Because I don't want the creatures to incite a nuclear war. I don't want these creatures to interfere with military readiness. So I hope our government can do something to protect us all from the aliens. And what does that do? That gives the government more power. More power for control. More power over your life. More power to make the calls over your life. You see what I'm saying? It's the same concept, guys. We have a cosmic threat to humanity. We must do what we can globally to fight this. It's the same narrative we have with the vaccines. It's the same narrative we have with COVID. We have a global threat. We've got to unite. We've got to do these things 6 feet apart, wear a mask, whatever, in order to protect ourselves from COVID or whatever it is. And therefore, now the whole thing will be to protect ourselves from the aliens. We're asking you to do this because we can't have this happen. We are under threat, and we do not have the technology to fight these creatures. You see where it's going? That's why I wanted to tell you this, because if this rolls out, by what the whistleblowers are saying, I can almost predict exactly what they're going to do to cause you to fear them. And I am telling you, it has nothing to do with aliens. These are demons, these are fallen angels, and we know when it looks like a duck and it talks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. It's a duck. These are multidimensional creatures because they're alien, not aliens, but they're fallen angels and they're demons. That's why they can do what they can do. That's why they can appear and disappear. That's why they can move all through radar and do all kinds of phenomenal things, because they're multidimensional creatures. They're spirit creatures is what they're doing. So we're going to end on that, but that's what we need to be looking for. Trump says he's going to release it, so let's watch and see how people react to this, okay? Anyway, we got to get out of here. We went late. Let's pray. Father, thank you, Lord, for what we can understand about our world. There's so much deception going on, so much craziness, and thank you, Father, for your truth. With your scripture, we can see right through what they're doing. We know what these creatures are, Father, because of your word. And we thank you for that. That grounds us and that prevents us from being deceived. And Father, as we go, help us to get the truth out, not suppress it, but tell the truth to as many people as possible. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.